morning, everyone. Welcome to AMHQ Weekend on this Sunday, November 13th. I'm meteorologist Kelly Cass.
And I'm meteorologist Nick Walker in for Reynolds Wolf, who has the day off. We got wildfires still raging, temperatures tumbling, and in some places below freezing, and the potential for rain in the drought-stricken areas today.
I miss using my radar app. I haven't seen rain in so long. So
really?
We're going to take a look at that forecast, but first of all, take a look.
For the Tennessee area, some areas, though, looking to get some rain here in the Carolinas and Georgia.
Mainly along the coast where, of course, they don't need it as much, right? We've had tropical systems impacting the eastern sides of the Carolinas, but we'll watch that western edge, hopefully getting us here in Atlanta. Otherwise, Nick, we've got high pressure, not only keeping it cool this morning, but eventually warm this afternoon.
That's right, and we're warming up big time ahead of a front there in the northern plains. Look at that, 61 degrees in Minneapolis. That'll change. We're
setting records. Our warmest start to November in places like Minneapolis, as a matter of fact. Lake Lure, not too far from Asheville, actually, just on the east side of Asheville. North Carolina, of course, hit with flooding from Matthew not too long ago, especially the eastern side of North Carolina. And now we've got the very dry conditions and the smoky conditions. Take a look at this satellite from yesterday. You can actually make out where the fires are burning and that milky white, that plume of smoke, depending on which way the wind is blowing, well, that determines who's going to get the thicker smoke and, of course, affecting our air quality that we breathe. So this is certainly not a good situation. We're seeing more fires actually here in the southeast, and they're seeing in the west. Very uncommon to see that happen. We're talking 33 fires that are burning that are greater than 100 acres. If you add all these flames up, we're talking over 53, almost 54,000 acres that are currently being consumed right now. So high pressure is dominating our overall weather pattern. Of course, you've got a clockwise flow around that high, and that affects our wind direction. So as I mentioned, depending on which way the wind is blowing, that's going to send the smoke downstream. And right now, thankfully, the winds are calm. But the bad news is we have what's called an inversion in the atmosphere right now. So we have a warm air, a layer of air that's acting as a lid, keeping that smoke down closer to the surface. In places like Chattanooga, it is not good right now at all. In fact, unhealthy. There's the count, 170. And Asheville also looking at unhealthy air right now. Unhealthy for some, even in Birmingham, Alabama. So yesterday was quite a blustery day. Today's not going to be quite as windy, but we still have issues with the air quality. You can see where we do have all the advisories in effect from Kingsport, Tennessee to Asheville, and even back here towards Hamilton County in Chattanooga. So this is a situation that has gotten worse because of the drought, Nick. As you know, the darker red showing the exceptional drought, and we have quite the streak going since we've had any measurable rainfall. 54 days in Birmingham. Nick, never thought I'd be so excited to see rain in that forecast, Nick. Let's say good morning to you, Minneapolis. A bit cool out there to start you off. We've got 43 degrees on the thermometer. Feels like 39 degrees, just an ever so slight breeze blowing out there. But you know what? By this afternoon, we are back above average again in the Twin Cities. And that really has been the name of the game. October now leading into November. As a matter of fact, it is a record start to November in terms of how warm it's been. When you take the highs and the lows, you get the average. And these are your numbers. 52.9 degrees in Minneapolis. Record start to November there. Second record warmest here in Des Moines. And yeah, number one here in North Platte. When you take the highs and lows, we're averaging 50.9 so far. We'll see how the rest of November goes. But for now, high pressure dominating the overall weather pattern with that ridge. You know, the jet stream visiting Canada these days. And what we need is a cold Arctic blast to come on down, or a really strong, vigorous system to come at us from the Rockies. And eventually we do think that will happen. But for now, if you like it warm, enjoy. The next couple of days actually still pretty mild out there. We've got the 60s on the plains. It does turn cooler for Minneapolis, but then we're back up to 60 on Tuesday. 68 degrees in Des Moines, practically 70 degrees with Thanksgiving right around the corner. In fact, by Wednesday, all these dots representing where we could actually see record highs tied or broken, Nick.
Amazing to see that kind of warm.
And Nick, you know, it's kind of chilly in some of the bigger cities this morning, but if you go just outside the city, it's actually a little bit cooler. You've got 36 degrees in Nashville, freezing in Indianapolis. Chicago finally saw the first freeze of the season yesterday morning, but we dive in closer and we take a look at what's called the urban heat island effect. So right in the city, it tends to be a little bit warmer than just outside of the city in the more rural areas. So right in D.C., you've got 35 degrees, Martinsburg 25, and over towards Dulles, we've got temperatures in the upper 20s right now. So what's going on? Why so warm in the city and so cold once you leave the city? Well, of course, the city absorbs a lot of heat during the day. You've got the black rooftops, the darker buildings, and of course the pavement, the sidewalks, the streets themselves. And then as we go through the day, you do heat up in the city up to, say, about 60 degrees in this particular example. So we've got a bubble of heat that is basically created during the day, and the city retains that heat at night as well, because, you know, we don't really see a whole lot of radiational cooling in the city compared to the outlying areas where you don't have as much of that radiation that's been absorbed during the day. So the vegetation actually cools off faster as well. So you can have as much of a, you know, as a 10-degree spread here, a 10-degree difference. Take a look at St. Louis. We've got a perfect example this morning for you as well. 34 in the city, but just outside of St. Louis, notice how cold it is. We've got 20s in Warrenton, 29 degrees in Nashville, and over towards Chester, 34 degrees. So it's definitely cooler outside the city. Now, New York is a little bit tricky because, of course, we are influenced by the water surrounding New York. But even here, we have an example of the urban heat island where it's 42. Outside the city in Jersey, you've got the 20s, and over towards Islip, it is 37 degrees this morning. Some noteworthy stats to tell you about here with this year's super moon. As a matter of fact, that, along with the weather conditions, will be impacting the northeast coast, especially by Tuesday. Something to watch. So this super moon occurring basically tomorrow, peaking. The closest a full moon has ever been since January 26th of 1948. So it's been a while. The next time a full moon is even closer will be November 25th, but not until 2034. So take a look. We also have the weather conditions that will play a role in the possibility of some coastal flooding, especially along the coast of Long Island and up towards New England as well. This is the picture, kind of a snapshot for you as we get toward Tuesday. We have that fetch coming in off the ocean. So that persistent east to northeast wind that's going to help really pile up the water a little bit, especially at times of high astronomical tide. Of course, with the king, with the supermoon, that is really going to raise it up even more. So here's a look at the tide cycle for places like Boston. We're looking at high tide around 11:08 in the morning Tuesday, and then we'll see it rising up to again 11:45 Tuesday night. So we're talking a pretty significant change overall, about 14 feet here. And for Provincetown, this is at the tip of Cape Cod. High tides to watch for again at Tuesday morning 11:14, and then later on Tuesday night as well. Well, you are just in time for a brand new hour of AMHQ Weekend. We've got these stories coming